Welcome, folks. Good morning, one and all. We begin today a new mimer, a new Hasidic discourse. This one was said in 1987 on Chamisha Asar B'Av, the 15th day of Av, which was yesterday. And it's based on the phrase, Lahayu Yomim Tevim LeYisrael, Chamisha Asar B'Av, Yom Kippur. There were no such great holidays as the 15th of Av, yesterday, and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The Talmud, that's a Mishnah. The Talmud tells us different things that happen on that day, which we'll touch upon. So the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Rebbe, in his Hasidic discourse, explains the idea of the 15th of Av being such a, great holiday. I'm sure everybody's asking, did I miss something? No. Yeah, so there's 6 different things that happen on that day, but they are a consequence of the main point of that day. What is the main point of that day? Is that on the 15th of every Jewish month, we have a full moon. Have a full moon? And even though the 15th of the month, very special, we only have 2 holidays that are on the 15th of the month. Pesach, Passover, and Sukkot. They are the only ones that are, shall we say, scheduled on the Jewish calendar in the 15th of the month, 15th of the month of Nisan, and 15th of the month of Sukkot. Right? So if the 15th is so special because the moon is whole and complete, by just those 2 holidays, plus the one that we're talking about. Further, that's not understood. It's from the language that there were not holidays for the Jewish people, like the 15th of Av. It sounds like this is greater than all other holidays, even greater than Pesach and Yom and Sukkot. How do we understand that? We just put on the air conditioning.
Oh, sure.
The bottom right button. Bottom right?
Yeah. Cool, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. The water's hot. So it makes it sound. It's what number?
Cool.
And number?
23.
It's on.
Cool on setting 23 degrees.
On the right?
Cool. System cool.
Just give me 1 second. Okay. So it makes it sound like the 15th of this month is greater than even Pesach and Sukkot. How do we understand that? So the essential point over here is as follows. We learned this idea previously, and the main virtue of the wholeness of the moon is because it comes after the lacking of the moon. Right? In other words, well, what's so big about a full moon? Well, you don't say that about the sun. Why? Because the sun is always full. The moon isn't. There is a lack in the moon. So the fact that there is something lacking on the moon, that there's even a moment that you don't see the moon right before Rosh Chodesh, before the new month, and now the moon is full, ah, that's what's unique and special about it, right? And what's unique about that? What's special about that? Is because this brings out the idea that every yerida, every downfall, every dip, every descent is ultimately in order to have a greater ascent, right? And the greater descent, the greater the ascent that comes thereafter, right? The greater you fall, the greater you'll get up to a greater place that comes thereafter. So, therefore, the virtue of the 15th of Av over every other month is because in the month of Av, the downfall of the Jewish people and the Jewish people, we count by the moon because we're similar to the moon. We have our ups and downs, right? We count to the moon because we're similar to the moon. There was a greater downfall in the month of Av than in other months. Therefore, the aliyah, the ascent that comes thereafter, is so much greater. Right. Now, what does that mean? It means very simple. Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, comes after Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is, of course, the greatest descent, the 9th of Av. Now, what was the great ascent that happened on this day? Is that there was a decree in the desert that they would die off because they were that generation, the generation that went out of Egypt, they partook in the sin of the spies, right? They all had a lack of faith. So there was a decree against them that they would die in the desert. And when would they die? On the 9th of Av. Why the 9th of Av? Because that's the day of the decree against the Jewish people that they would die off in the desert as a result of the spies. The spies came, I think it was back on the 8th of Av, the day before. Okay. Yeah. So they would, on the 9th of Av, in the desert for 39 years, they would dig their own graves. And every year, thousands of them would die. Came the 9th of Av, the 40th year, and they didn't die. They thought maybe they were off in their calculation of the day of the month. Then when the full moon came on the 15th of the month, they realized, no, there's no more death to this generation. This generation will go into Israel. So the decree ended on the 15th of Av. That's when it was clear. So what do we have? The 9th of Av is the lowest point in Jewish history, or a Jewish day in the month of the year, of the calendar year. That's the greatest descent, right? And death and destruction. And here on the 15th is, oh, that's it. The decree of death is no longer, it's been annulled. It's over, right? So with this, we can understand also that the main downfall on Tisha B'Av was what? Was the destruction of the first and second Holy Temple that fell on the same day, Tisha B'Av. So these two decrees that fall out on the same day as the sin of the spies. So the 15th of the month, right, now is the makeup of, or the finishing of the decree of those that passed in the desert and the destruction of the two holy temples. Meaning the 15th of Av then is a reflection, or brings out the idea that what shines on that day, at least, is the third holy temple. The third holy temple, which is the aliyah that comes after the yerida, the ascent that comes after the descent of the destruction of two holy temples. That clear? Yeah? Now, he continues in the Maimer, the Rebbe Rashab, in his Hasidic discourse. And what's the connection between the 15th of Av and the third holy temple, right? So we understand it historically, but how do we understand this? Explains like this. 15 numerically is Yud and a Hey. Yud is 10, Hey is 5. Okay. What's going to be in the time to come is Vav and a Hey, which is 6 and 5, right? But more Vav and Hey, the numeric value here is not the significance. We'll get back. We'll see. The Vav and a Hey are going to become elevated and become like the Yud and the Hey. Okay, is that clear? Well, I'll explain what that means. But right now, God's name, you have the Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. But in the time to come, the Vav and a Hey will act like a Yud and a Hey. What does that mean?
So it's
Not the numeric value. It'll be 15. 15 is complete, right? 15th of the month, this is 15, right? So this part, well, let's understand. God's name is responsible, the Tetragrammaton is responsible for all of creation, right? Which these are the 10 divine attributes. Chochmah, Bina, 6 emotions, and Malchus, royalty, right? Speech, if you will. So this is the name of God that is the divine energy force of God, the light of God that animates everything in creation. Okay. In the time to come, everything in creation, these latter 2 letters of God's name will act like the first 2 letters. They'll be complete, 15, which is complete. Okay. What does that mean? What does that mean exactly? Right.
Jewish month is always 30.
29.
Jewish calendar.
29 or 30. Okay. So let's explain. These 2 letters, there can never be negativity coming from them. This is where the negativity in creation can come from. As we learn in the 3rd part of Tanya, that the latter hay is Malchus, royalty, the word of God. It's the Shekhinah, the divine presence. This can fall into klipa, into negativity, and it becomes the source of our life. The source of this coffee that I'm holding right now.
Amen.
The source of this energy is klipa, is a shell that covers over the holiness. You make a bracha, you can elevate it, right? It's kosher, so it can be elevated, right? But these 2 letters have, and particularly the hey, have a capacity that negativity can come from it, klipa. And that's why, right, this latter hay can fall off the Shekhinah, and the Shekhinah goes into exile, and we have to do tshuva to reconnect it, right? But the fact is that it has a capacity to right. Yud and Hey don't have that capacity. The Yud and Hey always remain whole and complete. 15, right? Like the moon is complete and whole, and it is Chachma and Bina, right? They are always what's the word? They're they're called like 2 friends that never depart. They're always together, and you can understand that because whenever you have a flash of ingenuity, it automatically will be brought into developing the point, developing it into the width, length, and depth. The breadth, length, and depth will always, whatever, it always just naturally becomes brought from the first process of the point of an idea into full develop, or starting to develop it, right? So they're called like 2 friends that never part from each other, Chachma and Bina, right? So they always are. Vav and Hey are not always on a human level. Hey refers to speech, right? As a king rules with his word. Does a king always have to speak? No. Do your emotions always bring you to speak? No. Bring you always to think, but not to speak. So the 2 are always not connected. Necessarily, they're not always connected. Since holiness means connection, these 2 are not always connected. Therefore, it can be a place where negativity can get its nurture from. and the hay can fall into klipa. Okay, that was a bit Kabbalistic, but I'm certain that, you guys are becoming much more, capable in your Kabbalah. Okay, we're gonna leave it there and we'll continue this thought. All right, I hope you got that. Thank you, folks. How's the camera? And how was the voice? The
Voice is
vocals? Good?
vocals are good. Yes.
Vocals I know that are really good, that I've checked and I've seen the difference. Okay, thank you.